This is Craig and Andrew, two Ranger qualified Army officers with MBAs, here to help you improve your business through leadership.
Each week, we'll deliver easy lessons from the battlefield to the boardroom on how to improve team performance. If you're a leader or want to be, this is the place for you.
Welcome to the cohort.
Disclaimer: the views in this podcast are those of the authors alone and do not represent the views of the Department of Defense or the U.S. Army.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Command Post Cohort.
Hey, everybody.
Today, we're going to talk a little bit about delegation and how leaders can use that tool or that behavior to empower their organization and be able to help take them to the next level and really get to that, to build that trust. This is a great way that you can do that.
Yeah, and it's not just about empowering, the employees, right? It actually makes you a better leader if you're able to delegate, because then it allows you to level up, right? To focus on the things that really only the leader can do. I would start out by saying it's over 100 degrees here in Austin every day now in late summer, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
It's only
maybe this story
95 in Georgia.
95. It's not much better. So maybe this story will help cool me down some, because this takes place in Germany in the wintertime. We're in the Hohenfels training area, which is kind of south central Germany, which is kind of closer to the mountains. Anyways, January, February, and just cold and rainy.
Yeah,
Which is
sounds
probably
like Germany.
Yep, that sounds like Germany. Yeah. So that was this place, and we were on it was like a 3-week training exercise. So we were out there in the field, right? We had our Humvees and our tents and our boots, caked in mud and that kind of thing. So I had just taken over as a company commander not too long before this exercise. So it was probably February or so. So yeah, definitely cold and dark and rainy. But so I hadn't been a commander very long, and I was still trying to kind of figure it all out and learn how to be a commander. Right. So a company commander, I was in charge of about 80 or so people, and been in the Army at that point probably 6 years, maybe. Yeah, I think it was right at 6 years. So I was still learning how to kind of be that level of leadership. At this training exercise, we were all, my command post was in this big tent. It's not like a little pop-up Coleman tent, put all your sleeping bag. Like, this is a big tent. It was like a room, right, where we had all our computers and all our communications equipment and our maps and stuff. So as a commander, like, I'm responsible for planning out all the operations over the next few days, few weeks, and deciding how we're going to do things and figuring out what different enablers we need and different attachments we need to execute these tasks. So it's kind of a lot.
Definitely.
So I was trying to figure out how to talk to these different entities that were going to be a part of the thing and schedule out these things. And because it was raining, because we're in a tent, the tent was starting to sag, so I'd hold up a 4x4 to get to prop the tent up. So there's a lot going on, and I was not able to get it all done. I was getting frustrated because I had so much to do. I couldn't do it all. I couldn't do the important things. I couldn't schedule out. I couldn't line up the enablers. I couldn't figure out, think about and craft the guidance that I needed. And then, like, it dawned on me. So I was sitting there holding up this 4x4. Like, oh wait, I can just. I had this idea that because I was a commander, everything had to come through me, right?
Yeah.
Because I was the one in charge. So if you're going to talk to anybody in my organization, you got to talk to me first. You talk to me, we'll get it figured out, we'll work it out, and then I will tell those people that work for me where to go and who to link up with and when they're going to be there. I had that idea in my head, and that idea and that requirement that I put upon myself was holding me back from being able to really do all the things that only I could do, which was think about our plan for the next couple of days, couple of weeks, think about the strategy that I needed to craft. So then while I was holding this 4x4 up, I had the idea, like, oh, well, no, I don't have to do that. I can tell some of these junior leaders, some of my employees, that they can go and talk to them and then tell me what they figured out, what they worked out, and then we'll make sure it fits in the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it and it is. It's interesting because I think that, as leaders, we're definitely responsible for everything that happens. But a key piece of this is you don't have to do everything that happens. Even though you're responsible for it, you don't have to do it,
You don't have to
but
do it.
you're responsible to, make sure something happens. But you are, as that leader, you can empower one of your team members. Now this goes back to, you got to be able to trust them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little scary when maybe you're in a new organization or you're in a new role, to be able to kind of say, all right, hey, I'm going to send you in my stead. But that's how we gain their trust too, is if someone is saying, hey, Craig, I'm going to send you out there and I'm going to trust you to go coordinate with this other organization and then bring back that information. And I come back to my commander and say, hey, this is what's going on. That's going to make me feel like, he really trusted me to do that. This was an important piece. And I think it goes a long way in that trust building. But it's tough as leaders to realize, like, even though I'm responsible for everything, I don't have to do everything myself.
Yeah, I was struggling with this for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And like what wasn't getting done was the things that only I can do as the leader, right? Crafting the strategy, designing the plan for the next few weeks, giving guidance. Like I wasn't able to do all that because I was so frustrated. I was so backed up trying to do all this and talk to all these different people and get it all lined up. And all the while, my lieutenants were just in there kind of, not doing much. I wasn't using them to their full capacity, right?
And I think that, as we start that, leadership journey, we all kind of have this idea of like, as you increase in position or your organization is larger, you move up the chain, so to speak. I think we all, or at least I did, kind of have this idea of like, well, you have more control the higher you go up.
Yeah.
But really, I almost felt like every time I went up, I was trying to take less control and I was trying to push that out. You're further from the actual day to day of, the individual contributor level every time you take a step higher up in leadership. And so, but it's tough to, because we all started at some point as that individual contributor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we know how to do these things. And so we also like want to help our team, and we don't want to like be seen as slacking. So for me, it was real easy to get caught up in that stuff when the reality is, you're right. We should only be doing what the leader can only do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
Because
great point about letting go of control versus,
yeah,
gaining more
it's,
control.
yeah, you should be trying to get rid of it. And it's I always, and I know I say this a lot and I joke, but it's not so I can go play more golf. But I now have freed myself up to take more time to take care of that strategic level decision, more time to do other things that only the commander or only the leader can do. And then your whole organization benefits from that. But it's how do you, it's a trust thing of like, hey, I'm going
Yeah.
to trust them to go out there and do that. And it's challenging a lot of times. I mean, I think that's something that I have faced, as well as I've seen that too in leadership at multiple levels.
Yeah. So I mean, what I did, right, was then after I came to that realization, I gathered in, my lieutenants and said, hey, in 2 days, we're gonna do something like this. I need you, first platoon leader, to go and talk to this person, to work that all out. Come back to me and tell me what you've worked out. We'll make sure it fits in the plan. You, second platoon leader, here's what I need you to do. Go talk to that person, and here's what I need you to do, fire support officer. Like, so by telling them those things, like you mentioned earlier, it empowered them, right? They got to learn about stuff, how to talk to people, what, the left and right limits, how it's going to fit into the larger plan. And then they would come back and we'd make sure we'd all sync back together. And I made decisions on, trim the edges on different things and made sure it all fits within my plan that I now had the opportunity to craft.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it made them better. It made the organization better. So, when my boss, right, or the people that were over me would be evaluating me, they weren't going to come up to me and say, hey, did you talk to all the enablers?
Right.
All right. No. What they were going to say was, how well did Alpha Company do? Because that's the ultimate output, right?
They're looking for outcomes.
Yeah.
They want to see, did you achieve or accomplish the mission? Did you maximize those enablers? Did you actually achieve whatever task they had given you?
Hmm.
How you went about that and whether it was you talked to them or someone else talked to them was probably not their that was not their priority to observe or control.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and because of that, right, Alpha Company performed better. We accomplished all the tasks. Uh, because instead of, me trying to stay up all night, burning out, not being able to do anything, not functioning, because I was
Yeah.
trying to do it all, trusted my subordinate elements, let them develop themselves, some come up with part of the plan, take ownership of it. And the ultimate outcome was that Alpha Company, not Captain Parton, accomplished the mission, right? Did this unit, did this business unit do what it's supposed to do? Yeah. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. Who's responsible for that? Who's in charge of that unit? Oh, well, this guy is. Oh, all right. He must be all right then.
Yeah.
Right. That was the metric. It wasn't, how long did you spend writing out your plan? How long did you spend talking to
Yeah.
each enabler? How long did you stay up late each night? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not what the goal. That's not what they're going to measure.
Yeah. No, they're looking at what are those outcomes, those metrics or KPIs at the end of the quarter that they're expecting to see that you met or exceeded your numbers. And I think one of the really valuable lessons in the Army, especially in that junior leader role, is the ability to just figure it out
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
that problem solving. And one thing that I found a challenge with is I wanted to be the good leader and I wanted to set the conditions properly and I wanted to you know enable them to be successful. And so then you find yourself maybe holding on to something a little bit too long, trying to control something you really don't need to, when the reality was I needed to just let my lieutenant go figure it out.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it wasn't that I didn't trust them. It was more about this. I wanted to make it better for them. I was trying to set them up for success. And so I would find myself those same, scenarios you're talking about of like, hey, I'll go ahead and make that phone call so that then I'll tell you what they can and can't do, or whatever it is. It's more about, I think it happens with really good intentions from people that are,
Yeah.
trying to do the right thing. But the reality is there's some training that's going on there by just telling somebody. It reminds me when I think we were actually both at Auburn the first time this came up was the book's probably a strong word, Message to Garcia,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a short story, maybe a
That's
better
a great
term for
one.
that. And it is in this scenario in this story, someone says, "Hey, you've got to get this message to Garcia." And that's all he was told.
That's
He
his
didn't
only
not
guidance.
yeah, like not where is Garcia, who is Garcia, nothing. And that is what I think about, in a lot of leadership roles. You do have to just figure it out. It's kind of goes back into the problem solving realm. But
Mhm.
the foundation of all that is that trust. So I trust that I've given you a small piece of information and said, hey, get this message to Garcia. I trust you're going to figure it out and accomplish it. And you also trust that I've done on my end that I have tried to set you up for success. But at the same time, we know that there's never enough time. Those operations
Yeah.
orders that you're talking about writing. I mean,
Yeah.
you could spend as long as you want to. We used to joke that the order's never done. You
Yeah.
just run out of time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That's exactly right.
you could continue to improve one of those indefinitely. But I think that it's important for us as leaders to figure out where do we draw the line in the sand and say, okay, I've got enough information. I'm going to send this team out, or I'm going to tell this department, hey, start working on this, or go ahead and call that client or that customer, because you have to start somewhere. And it's one of the challenges I think we face as leaders is where to know um, or when to do that and where to draw
Yeah.
that line.
And it's like the idea that it may not be that you don't trust them, but it may be also that like how you want it done.
Yep.
You're going to get it done right. And that they were not going to, or as quickly.
Yeah.
And that can kind of be a hard thing to let go of, but what you have to realize is there's an opportunity cost.
Hmm.
As a leader, I don't have time to do everything. If I do 100 things because I know how to do them, quickly and easily, well, that's still 100 things that's taking up all of my time now. You know, and all the while, we're leaving capacity on the table in the form of those lieutenants.
Yeah, because I mean, you're talking about there. You've got team members that are probably working at 30% capacity
Yeah,
because you're taking a lot of their load. You're on the opposite end of the spectrum. You're burning out.
yeah,
And I think this is something too as leaders, as you do climb in the hierarchy of leadership, is watch out for your junior leaders doing this. Because, you
hmm
take a high performer and you put them in charge of 4 or 5 people, or maybe they've already done that and they're up in charge of 10 or 20. You may have to keep an eye out for them taking on more than what they should. I mean, your leaders are always going to be the busiest in the group usually, but they should be, I guess. But you've got to watch for the ones that are trying to do too much and are not maximizing that capacity, because it's
hmm
like when you're trying to balance the workload in a manufacturing scenario of like, how do we get the most out of these production lines and how do we make sure that there's no extra capacity in here, that you've got to look at your personnel the same way and say,
yeah,
well, hey, why is this leader, he's operating at 120%, but he's got 3 guys that are down there at 75%, taking lots of breaks, just hanging
yeah,
out. And it comes down to sometimes it's, well, he's not delegating down things that he should be. So it's a conversation of, hey, are you doing the things that only you can do? Like you mentioned, and that's what our goal should be as leaders, to try to work ourselves out of that job, but not to play golf, but to go
yeah,
and now we're working on higher level things, and we can continue to set those conditions and forecast further out, plan further out, and get ahead of what our current challenges are.
yeah. And the trust that they can figure it out, right? The Army had seen fit to promote those people to lieutenants, so
Yeah.
the Army believed in these kids.
Yeah.
So who am I to say, oh well, I can do it better?
Right. Yeah. And sometimes I'll share a short story of one time I did it totally unconscious or subconsciously when I had my business, and I had one of the guys that worked with me. We were actually moving locations. We were up at the new building working on some stuff, and it was like during a week of kind of transitioning up to the new location, which was less than a mile away, but we were back and forth all day. And I said, "Hey, could you go and change out the doorknob on the back door going into the shop?" And he was like, "Oh yeah," and he was a younger guy, great great guy. And he's like, "Yeah, I know how to do that. I got it." And so I went in to where the little storage area where I had some of these, and I grabbed one. And so it started out, I was just opening the box to hand it to him. And so then I just start walking that way with him, and we're talking. And so I'm opening the box, and then I'm like, okay, well, this thing will go this way and make sure this. And I'm talking about how to install this thing that he's already told me he knows how to do. I trusted him wholeheartedly. So it was not a trust issue. But subconsciously, I've been, I was busy. I was operating, probably above what capacity I should be. And it's one of those where you find yourself. I had walked with him all the way down there. We're standing at the door, and I'm like handing him stuff. And I eventually I handed him the whole thing. I said, "I'm sorry. I will leave you alone now," and just walked off. But it was me not. I didn't make the decision. Like, you know what? I don't trust him. I'm going to go install this.
Yeah,
No, it was purely I was busy, and it was what was on my mind right there was that thing. And as opposed to just handing it to him and moving on, I just got caught up in it, and it's not catastrophic. I mean, yes, that took me an extra 5 minutes or whatever, but it's those little things that over time, if I do that a few times a day, wait till the end of the week and you count up how many minutes you spent
yeah,
or
exactly.
hours. So it's not always like a deliberate thing. I think we sometimes just get caught up subconsciously almost because
Yeah.
you're busy and you're just trying to get things done. And sometimes you're like, well, I can do this faster myself than having to stop and then go find somebody, tell them what I want done, and then I got to come back and inspect it later. And it's like, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
But we got to be disciplined as leaders to not go down that road.
And to me, like that speaks to another part of it, right? Which is, kind of falling back into the routine, like the things you have been doing, the things you know you can do, right? You no longer have to do,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like that was something you delegated to him, and just by habit, by routine,
Yeah. I was
you
just
went ahead and were gonna do it, even though you're telling him to do it
yeah.
while you were doing.
Yeah. I just had somebody to talk to while I did it now.
I know
But
that's what I talk to us.
go back to capacity. I wasn't just wasting my time, I was wasting his too.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
he had other things he was working on. He had other responsibilities that I expected him to complete every day. But I'm hindering him from doing that if I'm going to do it with him standing there.
yeah,
And so, like, it's that balance of making sure we don't, waste time essentially.
yeah. Because how do you think that made him feel?
Well, yeah, because
Yeah,
that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up because it can look like and to that person that I didn't trust him.
yeah,
It's like, well, I can't believe Craig didn't even trust me to go
yeah,
install this like doorknob or whatever. And that was not the case. I mean, far from the truth. But what did my actions display?
exactly.
And it doesn't matter what I feel. It goes all the way back to communication of what am I actually communicating to him?
Yeah,
Looks like
yeah.
I don't trust him.
Here's what you were communicating, right? It was like, oh, Craig tells me to do this, but doesn't trust me to do it. Like,
Yeah.
dude, it's a doorknob. I've installed a doorknob before. You don't even
Right.
trust me with this basic thing.
Yeah.
Like, and now I'm sitting here watching him explain this to me, which I've done 100 times. It's a doorknob,
Yeah.
Craig. Like, it's fine. I can do this. And you don't trust me enough to do this. This is awful, right? That's the narrative that's going on in that guy's brain.
Definitely. Yeah.
But in your brain, you're trying to help him.
Yep. It is. It's interesting to see that, retrospectively to look back and
Mm-hmm.
say what was going on. But on the flip side, he was one of the first people that I ever think I left the business, and I was like it was open, and I had to leave, and he was, I think, one of the first people that I was like, all right, you're in charge,
I'm out.
and I trusted him with that. I trusted him to talk to customers coming in. I trusted him with talking to our vendors and suppliers. But what I was communicating in that instance right then was not going towards building trust, and something that we just have to be aware of as leaders. It's going to happen. This is the you were saying you're still trying to figure out how to be in that role. I mean, I don't think there's a role you could put me in that I wouldn't still find ways to improve and
Yeah.
get better, because I don't know anyone who has learned everything and is excellent in everything. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been around some really great leaders. I've been blessed with that. But even still, I bet if you ask them, they would say, "Oh yeah, there's always things to learn," because you see them constantly doing professional development and trying to get better themselves too.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree, man. You're always getting better.
So, and for any of y'all that are watching on the video, and you notice this weird background I've got here, I'm on the road this week, so I'm streaming live from my hotel room. So this is so I apologize for my decor back here. You can
No, you didn't pick out those curtains, Craig.
I did
That would.
not. Yeah, that's not my style really. But we appreciate y'all.
Thanks for listening. Hope it was helpful.
Talk to y'all later.
As always, take these lessons, use them, and spread them. Everyone is welcome in the cohort.
Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe for more, and drop us a line at commandpostcohort.com to request a specific topic.
We'll see you next time on the cohort.